24 times, allowing it to do the whole thing with the colors as well.
Okay, and how did you feel when you actually got it to do exactly what you wanted it to?
It's nice. It's achieving something. So
it's even for adults, it's really neat to be able to get a computer to do what you want. Thank you. Now, if you go back to your original screen, like your Google Meet screen, you can actually click Stop Presenting.
Stop sharing.
There we go, and now we're back. Okay, Nikki, do you have one?
No,
You're okay. That's all right.
Yeah, I don't use that.
That's okay.
I mean, I haven't used it very much.
It's right to pass. Okay, Andrew, do you have one you want to share?
Yeah, just give me 1 second to bring it back up here. Problem with having too many tabs is going to find which tab I was just on.
Yes, there was a senator in the United States who had too many tabs open when he did one of these. And he wound up having, it was a tab that was open for the vinyl Vixen online store. So it was for vinylware, and it's like, oh. And of course, everybody then photoshopped him in vinylware, which was just
wow.
Oh, that looks cool. Okay, can you talk us through this, Andrew?
Yeah, so I just took the your idea of the define a square, and I did define a triangle. And then I wanted to draw a square and then draw a triangle. But then in between, it's about the in between. That's the fun experimental part of just turning it and then having it randomly put something somewhere. So it's still a work in progress.
Cool.
I think this needs to be 8. But anyway, so yeah, the square is 100. The triangle is a little bit smaller, so I made it 50.
Yeah.
And then yeah, so it's just experimenting with these turns and the moves in between to try to make it land somewhere.
That's cool. It makes a very, very neat pattern.
Mm-hmm.
See, what I do sometimes when I'm in class is when somebody has a really neat one, we'll take a screenshot of it and put it as the desktop for our presenting computer for the classroom. So that way their artwork goes up as our screen for our whiteboard. It's kind of fun. Okay, so you had a little bit of fun with the Scratch. Now, what can you see as the problem here if you're not face to face with the people and you're trying to do this as a flipped classroom? So what are your concerns about this?
Technical difficulties, I think, is the big thing.
Yeah. So one person alone can get some things done. 2 people together get twice as much. 3 people together get like 3 to 4 times as much done. This is the one problem with coding, that when you're doing coding not synchronously with people, it can be done, but you need to have a sets of really, really good instructions. That URL that Jeanette put up, which is mathsurprise.ca/mathncode, all one word, has a really great book by George Gadonides. It's also
Could you put that in the chat, please?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to remember it off by heart, but if it doesn't go to the right spot.
Is it the coding stories?
No, it's the coding book. Surprise.ca/. This could be taking us to the wrong spot, so that should be it. I'm gonna try it in a second.
I tried that and it said it didn't work.
Oh.
I mean, I found the link for the books.
Okay, can you pop that into the chat?
That's the books.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I'll if you want to take a quick look at those, or I can bring it up here. Hang on. So here we go. Oh, he's got some new ones. Okay, so I will bring this up. So I'll just show you through these, the ones that I know anyways. Try a window. Books. There we go. Okay, so this one here, Coding for Young Mathematicians, it actually is good for more than just grades 1 to 8. I use it with my pre-service teachers as well as my graduate students who are doing this as their online masters. We've been using it in the online masters program now for about 4 years, and it has specific enough instructions and really good examples that most people are able to do it by themselves. Occasionally, I'll have to go and help them in a Skype session. The next one along, the modeling math with code, is really neat, and it's quite a big departure from just like learning how to code. It's actually using the code to make up really big simulations of things and modeling things. You can actually get both. There's usually like a 2-for-1, or not a 2-for-1, but there's I think you can usually buy these as 2. They are really, really worth the money. They're only like $19. I think it's like $29 for both, or not necessarily. I don't know. Buy a coding ebook for a minute. Okay. Yeah, so it looks like $12 or $19, and then I think you can get it for $29.99 together. Okay, I'm just gonna come out of there. So if you are using that with your students, what's really nice is it has really, really good instructions for people to follow. So you could actually put up a couple of pages and then let them try them out. And they can try them out on their own. And if they don't, they can call you, and maybe you can do a Skype session with it. That's what I've done. If you're right now, you can't, but I would meet people at coffee shops around the way and help them out that way as well. So that's one possible solution. Have any of you flipped a classroom before, or been in a flipped classroom?
Yeah.
Oh, screencasting, yes. Yeah.
I do a lot of screencasting, and students tell me that they find it easy because they can rewind and just listen to the explanations.
Yeah, and what's nice is you then have that bank of screencasts that you can keep.
I don't. I should, but I don't.
Oh no! You haven't done a flipped classroom? Okay, so it's really different. So did you get the idea behind it in the readings that we were doing, or the presentation?
Yeah, I understood that it was like, you do some learning beforehand, and then when you're in person, yeah. So now I'm wondering. So in this case, it's now like the flipped online. So instead of being in person, you're then in a communal session of talking about what we just learned.
Yes, and that adds just that little bit of an extra problem to it, but it's still doable. Blended flipped and not fully online flipped. Oh yeah, that would be really good. What's fully online flipped, Laura?
What we're doing right now.
Oh, okay, yeah, cool. Awesome. I've done that exactly once. It was a really good experience for me. Not sure about all the rest of you, but no. The other things that you can do, which are really neat to be able to do small collaborative groups, is to create shared Google Docs or shared Google Slide presentations. You can even work on a spreadsheet all together, although I'm not sure what I would do with that. The Google Docs works really, really well. So what I do is I create one Google Doc with 3 or 4 students, give them permission to do it, and then then create a Google Hangout for them to go and use it. And so while they're actually working on that problem, I can drop in on them, talk to them while they're working on it, and I can see their Google Doc at the same time. So that makes things just a little bit easier. Not so much for the coding, although evidently you can with the online studio, which I just got permission this morning to use it, so I haven't had a chance to really play with it. Evidently you can do exactly the same thing with the Scratch, so you can do the coding together. Okay, what about you, Nikki? Have you ever flipped?
Yeah, I've done a lot of flipped classes.
So what are your strategies?
So I do a lot of screencasts, and then sometimes I also in a technology class in particular, I will show the students my video that I have already created, and I have students working on it. And as they're doing that, I walk around and assist. So I act like a teaching assistant in my own classroom, where everybody's watching the instructions and following along, and then I'm troubleshooting as they're doing that. So I've tried that a few times as well. And I'm teaching synchronously, I think is the term right now. So I have a grade 9 class that I'm teaching online at the moment, also using Google Meet. So I'm kind of so this is actually really good because I really like the strategy where you had us code this Scratch problem, then we all kind of regrouped and talked about it, and I think that would be a strategy that I would like to use in my own class. So have some students work on challenge, and then everybody just kind of talks about it, and they share their learning in that way. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Nikki. And hang on. I'm getting somebody's. I think it's Andrew. Is there stuff in your background? Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, I got.
Cool. I just muted you. I didn't know I could do that. Oh, cool. With that really annoying kid that you have who's always talking, you just like hover and then you just go click. And everybody sees them going like this. Okay, Laura, you need to keep me on track. What are we supposed to be doing next?
According to the slides?
Sure. Or according to the needs.
Well, advanced coding. Let's see.
Yeah, there's some advanced coding there. Or I've got one here I'll pop in as well. So here is one of my favorite things that I've ever created. I'll just pop it into the... Here it is. Okay, so this is a set of activities which we use to when we're learning how to debug. So you notice what I had you do first is I had you go look at my code, and then I had you look at it, find out where the mistakes are, and then look for ways to solve that. That turns out to be one of the best strategies to teach people how to learn how to code. So if you look at this, there's a PDF that you can download there. That was made up by 2 of my grad students and I, because we all three of us were having trouble trying to make up this code for class. So we put it all together, made it into this little unit, and we gave it to our students. So there were little grade 5s doing it in Taiwan. There were grade 8s in Scarborough and London who were doing it, and they came up with better solutions than any of us could. So if you want to try one of those, we could.
Yeah, we're just at the extensions part.
Extensions part? Oh, okay.
So I'd like to share something that I created in Scratch.
Yes, please.
Okay. I've put it in the chat box.
Okay. Why don't you just bring it up and present it?
Okay. Let's see. It's just my computer's running a bit slow, so hopefully there won't be any lag.
If it doesn't work, I'll run it for you.
That's not it.
There we go.
Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, God. Oh, that's hilarious.
And then I think he just runs away.
Yeah.
That was one of my first forays into Scratch. So as somebody who is not a math person, my entry into Scratch is not math or even really art, but it's more storytelling. So I think having a variety of different ins is helpful, because when this challenge was posed to me, it was the first time that I actually wanted to engage with Scratch and was excited about sharing what I created. Because any other kind of entry point, when it was like learn the basics, go through the tutorial, do whatever, nothing worked except for this. So it's keeping in mind that, there are so many different entry points. It doesn't just have to be math. It doesn't just have to be art, but like, how can you figure out what your student is interested in, what will just twig them, motivate them, and then see what's possible.
I taught a section of high school English history teacher candidates, and they came up with so many different possible things that you could do that would be involved with language and history and even phys ed. So it was basically, you didn't need the math. One teacher that I was listening to on a podcast says that she takes the basics of coding. When you get down to it, the computational thinking part is that the first part you're doing is like you're looking for patterns. So you try to recognize the pattern, then you try to abstract that pattern, then you create an algorithm to make that pattern work. So that works with just about every subject. It works especially well if you're trying to do some of the classical literature, like she was using it for the Odyssey. So she used to like dread going into grade 9 and having to teach the Odyssey again, but then she took a computational thinking look at it and actually had the kids decode all the different stories as they were going on, and then they tried to use that with like randomly generating the next parts of the story by using code. So which gets them to understand it at a very, very deep level. Poetry is another one that is eminently codable. You can, depending on the type of poem that you want to use, you can create lists and all sorts of other things. So if you actually when you get further along and you create a list, you can actually enter things into a list and then have your program read from that. So if you needed nouns, you could choose random nouns, then choose a random verb, then choose a random object, and you get a random sentence. So even like that subject, subject, verb, object is codable.
Yeah.
So there's no end to it. My phys ed.
That's a good idea. That's almost like Mad Libs.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. So I created a haiku generator, but I only did the first two lines and then let my students try to figure out the rest of it.
Cool.
So they had to figure out, okay, so how am I going to get the 5? So how many different ways can you get 5 syllables so that it actually makes a sentence that works?
Yeah.
So
and I think the other thing too is like it could be used as an icebreaker where, maybe students are creating like GIFs or memes or something using Scratch, and you could even get them to like screen record, and it ends up being like a little video file that can then be shared on social media or something. Like there's ways I think that it can get really creative.
Yes. Okay, so I'm going to show you now. Sorry, or do we have enough time still to do the extensions? And I'll show everybody where to get those. All right, so go back to window. Which one do I want now? Uh-oh.
So, Ian, we have about 15 minutes left in the breakout.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so I just got into trouble because I got too many tabs open. Okay, so leave that one. I'm sorry, I'm getting there. And sure, I'll just do that one. Okay, so hopefully you can see this now. Okay, so down here at the bottom left, if you want to look at this in your own window, you can. It's called the Add Extensions, and there's all sorts of things in there now. So there are musical instruments, so that you can, and it's actually a fairly big suite of them. You've already got the pen up there. You can have video sensing from your camera. You can have text to speech, which Laura, you can have a lot of fun with your dinosaurs. You can actually make them.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Oh yeah, it's really funny. There's a translator.
So
You can
are these tutorials?
no, they're actually here. I'll show you. Let's take the text to speech. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to click on it like this, and then you will notice down here at the bottom I've got extra blocks. So this one says speak. So literally, if you click it, you can change the voice. So the first thing that students do is obviously they put in inappropriate words. And then you can set the language. This is really fun because if you put in, it will mispronounce. It'll pronounce words as if you were in that. Oh my God, they got Hindi finally. That's great. That would have been so good for my students. So we can put in, I don't know, Russian. And let's see what happens now. That didn't work. Let's set it to alto. Nah, doesn't work. But you can actually put these in. So as you're doing your speech bubbles, which is under looks. So I'm going to have him say hello first, and he can actually say it at the same time. Oops, sorry, I'm still on Russian. My fault. Okay, so you'll notice that time it does this first, and then speaks after. So you might want to do it the opposite way around. I said you might want to do it the opposite way around. Oh, for gosh sake. And I think that works better. There you go. Because this hello is done very quickly, and then this will take 2 seconds before it disappears. So
wait, so Ian, did you? I didn't hear anything. Did it?
Oh, you
speak?
didn't?
No.
Oh no, hang on. Let me see if I can turn it up. Okay.
Did anybody else hear it? Maybe it's
No,
just
I
me.
didn't hear that either.
Okay. I think maybe it's because your headphones are in.
Yeah. Okay. So you're going to have to play with that yourself. So some of the other things you can do, you can actually program the microbit. It's got the Lego Mindstorms things as well as the Lego We Do. And these are for sensors, which I'm not sure about. And you'll notice that it says down here it requires Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. The microbit is really, really good because it adds all sorts of extra functionality to your microbit that you haven't seen. You should definitely come and do the microbit workshop. It's so much fun. Makey just gives you extra keys. So you'll notice here, if you're a gamer, you'll notice these are now combinations that you can get so that you can actually set up your makey keys so that you have to do certain combinations to play a game. And there's one at the end that I did not know, but it's the, if anybody knows what this is, yell it out. It's the up, down, left, right. Oh, so you know what it is? Have you heard of that before?
No, but I can guess what it is.
What is it?
It's we have been using makeys, so I think that is just a sequence of things that kind of jump sets things.
Yeah.
As you're playing the game.
Yeah, it's called the Konami Code because of one of the original consoles that was made by Konami, and they left a back door into the programming mode. So they had that up, down, left, right was their back door. But then new game makers started using that, and it became the superpower move in whatever game you were playing. So it became like its own thing, which was really fun. So the kids will know that. So those are all the extensions that you can use, like to add even more functionality to using the Scratch than there are. And I know this is really going way over everybody's head, but that's okay. Just so you know that it's there. And then honestly, if you want to learn Scratch, you just have to start playing with it.
Just a quick question, Andrew, if you already have quite a lot of experience with Scratch, have you already gone through these resources and adapted any, or?
Yeah, I've done some stuff with Scratch and Makey and Microbit. I run the local Scratch Ed meetup here in Ottawa.
Awesome.
So always getting teachers at different levels involved. So yeah, I'm just trying to support them where they are in terms of and where they, because everybody has their own vision on how they want to use it in their classroom. So last month I did a Scratch in the math classroom, so we went through some shapes, and then also talked a little bit about variables, so could use it for counting and skip counting, those types of things. But yeah, I always find their online tutorials are very useful to get started, and then yeah, once you dive into the extensions and like there's so many possibilities, it's crazy. So yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and I find that anytime that you want to teach these to people, you have to have some kind of project for them to try out, or at least to suggest for them to do. Because if you just say, hey, we're going to learn Scratch, it's like, that's nice. I actually started Scratch 3 times and gave up before George Gadonitis came in and showed me how to use it with my students. And it was like, oh, and I've been converted ever since then. And it's just gotten better since then.
Yeah.
So what questions do you have for me that, or for Laura that we could help you with?
Okay, I actually have not used Scratch at all in the classroom setting, and I don't know where to start. So how do I firstly learn myself, and then how do I?
So I'm sorry, can you remind me what you teach?
I teach technology to grade 8.
Oh,
and grade
wicked.
9. Yeah.
Okay.
And
So
so
if-
I use other coding programs, but I think Scratch might be a neat thing to teach them.
Yeah.
But I don't know where to start teaching myself first, and then so I'm just looking for
start with George's book. I've used it with all ages, and the way he's written it now, you can actually choose to do it a bunch of different ways. So you can choose to start with just Scratch, or you can learn Scratch and Python side by side, or you can just learn the Python if you want. So it's all set up that way. It's the best book to get people started and to get you started as well. Like
okay. And that's the book that was in the link that you posted earlier.
Coding for Young Mathematicians is amazing. It's like one of the best books to teach kids and yourself how to teach. And the one thing that it does that's really important that I haven't mentioned is the idea in coding that there's this use, edit, create. So if you don't know how to do something, find somebody else who's done it, use it. Absolutely use each other's code. On Scratch, when you remix something, you'll see that if you're remixing something, the original person is credited.
Mm-hmm.
So you're automatically citing people before. So it's absolutely and completely understood that you will use other people's code. The next step is when you use the code and you start and you can start modifying it for your own use. So that's editing it and doing it. And then eventually you'll get to the point where you can create your own code because you want something very, very specific. But at the beginning, it's completely and utterly okay to use other people's code.
Okay.
Yeah. Which is difficult for a lot of students because they're always told, don't cheat. And it's not cheating. It's learning the coding way.
Nikki, what other coding languages or coding things have you done with your students?
I do this program called Alice, which is I'm not sure if you've heard of it. It's block based again, but they're learning how to create videos and graphical stories using block based coding.
Digital storytelling, yes.
I use code.org a fair bit. I think that's really great to start out as a teacher because it walks you through all the lessons. So I'm doing that with a bunch of kids. I use CodeHS for grade 9.
Okay.
So I do that a bit. And then the other stuff like HTML and CSS, we do that as well.
Wow. Yeah. Now, do you use Alice 2 or Alice 3?
Alice 3.
Yeah, okay. That's what I've been trying. Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I keep getting told Alice 3 is way better.
I haven't used Alice 2 at all. So
yeah, that's what I started with, and it was frustrating.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the students seem to enjoy it. it's really fun for them. There's a lot of animated characters that they can work with. It allows them to be creative.
Yes.
So that's really helpful to teach them how to code.
Yeah, it's not for lack of coding languages that we do all these things. It's like there's so many.
True.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's to find the good ones, or find the ones that you have enough resources or support as a teacher so that you can do it. Because
That's right.
yeah, you can use Microbit, you can use Makey, you can use Raspberry Pi, you can use all sorts of these different things. But if you don't have the support and you don't know where to start, like it's difficult. So I think Scratch is a great one because there's so much support. Like here, we're making a community, so you know that you can reach back out to the people that are here, and if someone doesn't know, they'll either work with you or find someone who does know how to do something. So
yeah, and the Scratch wiki. Oh, sorry, the Scratch wiki is also amazing. So all you have to do is go onto your favorite search engine and say, "How do you?" in Scratch, and it's been done.
Okay.
Yeah, there's lots of, and like if you're not sure what a code block or a specific block does, yeah, the wiki is really great for that. And so I did a challenge last 2 summers ago, and it was like use a block that you've never used before, and I'm like, okay, so I went into some of the blocks and like I don't know what this block does, so let's go figure it out. And then I made a project based around that block, sort of thing. So it's fun just to go through and like like I would say, like going through some of the tutorials that they have, like animate your name, like that's a good introduction one to get things going. So they figure out each sprite, and then they can figure out, like, try to get them to do different things for different sprites, so that they're not just like make them all turn. Like, well, that's boring. Like when you click on it, make it turn, and this one make it like get bigger and then get smaller, and then another one it like hides and disappears, or another one you click on it and it jumps randomly around the screen. So it's that sort of opportunity of figuring out some of the things so that you learn a little bit about the motion and about the looks, and then making sounds. And because you could do it for, like, there's an unlimited amount of opportunities, but it's trying to give them that focus. So I know that there's other things like the 10 block challenge. If you just Google 10 block challenge, maybe I can do that on the side there. And if like you just give them 10 blocks and say go, and like, but it's very simple. Like there's a repeat, there's I can't remember exactly, like there's the when clicked, and a couple of those things, and then they can just be as creative as they want to doing some drawing, to do some other things. So it's always a fun one.
Yeah, I see that here. That's really neat.